It's a pleasure to know you're still with us here on Global Morning. It's time to return to Nigerian dailies to look at headlines for you, just to guide you through what the direction of news is for today. We have just four papers to look at. We're beginning with the Daily Trust. Incidentally, I've just been joined by Queen Agaba. Queen, always delighted to have you on the program. So let's take a look at the papers this morning. We begin with the Daily Trust newspapers. All right. We're just going to start with headlines immediately above, just beneath the nameplate. Hardship, reps seek 100,000 minimum wage for workers. But then Anthony Mamodu and I were talking this morning about how that Labour is now saying, well, we're no longer asking for 1 million as minimum wage. We're now cutting down to 500,000. But now reps, we are told, are seeking 100,000 naira minimum wage. People say, I mean, those who have a handle on economics say more money does not necessarily mean solution. You can be paid more money, you can be paid higher, but it doesn't mean you are necessarily going to have a better life. It doesn't necessarily mean the quality of your life is going to improve. But I do understand that we have very brilliant economists amongst the labor leaders. Hopefully they understand these dynamics, so we are not living in denial. I mean, again, we don't want to remain that country that wants to solve one problem, then in the middle of the effort, you're creating 2 or 3 more problems. Yeah, we hope that happens going forward, all right? Jigawa Assembly impeaches 2 principal officers, suspends 4 LG chairs. Buhari's 8 years of printing money without productivity caused inflation. Now, we're having that conversation of the previous governments, even though it was an APC government for former President Buhari. It's also now an APC government for the incumbent, Bola Tinubu. But I do remember very clearly that in 2022, Edo State Governor Obaseki had said very clearly that Nigerian government was printing money to pay salaries. It was outrageous because I know as children growing up, we used to think your father can buy a machine at home, you can print money for your family, your siblings, your relatives, and all of that. But growing up, you get to realize that it just doesn't work that way. So when a state governor, I mean, somebody himself being an investment banker, somebody who understands how principles of economics work across the world, now telling you that your government, your federal government is printing money, it becomes really concerning. But we do know at that time, the federal government, particularly through the Minister of Finance, and then, of course, the then CBN governor, now embattled former CBN governor, Godwin Emefiele, had denied outright to say it was ludicrous that government cannot print money. But now we're being told by this same government that
the previous administration
had printed 22 trillion. And now Wale Edun, the current Minister of Finance and Coordinating Minister of the Economy, is telling Nigerians and everyone else who cares to listen that the major reason Nigeria is where it is today under the leadership of President Tinubu is that the government of Buhari was busy printing money. So we're going to see what they call on the streets a lot of basbos going forward. But yeah, that's it's quite an interesting scene to look at. But the Star story is different. It says UN confirms over 200 women IDPs abducted in Borno. Families ask FG, National Assembly, to rescue loved ones. Then the second writer says terrorists burn IDP houses at Dikwa. Sad story, sad story. Over 40 killed as militia groups clash in Benue. Field looting, police NEMA tighten security at warehouses. Once beaten, twice shy, they say. Let's see, header, 50 cows, sheep killed in Plateau attack. MPA grow revenue to 501 billion naira in 2023. So we're just going to allow Queen bring us the next paper, which is the Punch newspaper.
Okay, the next paper, the Punch, the headlines, just above the nameplate of the Punch, we have 30 killed in Benue fresh attack. Senate to meet Tinubu. Blackouts, FG threatens to revoke Disco's licenses. CBN printing of 22 trillion naira under Buhari fueled inflation. The big story on the Punch is 24 states can't pay salaries without FG allocation. The rider 24 states to pay 1.48 trillion naira salaries in 2024 but generates 914 billion naira IGR. Governors advised to boost IGR. Ondo, Yobe, Sokoto, Plateau, Niger, Nasarawa, Adamawa, Cross River, Delta, Abia, others affected. And then we have additional wins at Wolowo Price. It says low productivity costs Africa 2.6 trillion naira yearly. Minimum wage, labor slashes demand to 500,000. Troops comb bushes for 101 abducted women. IDP homes burnt. Lastly, on the Punch, we have federal government, foreign scholarship beneficiaries lament unpaid 8-month stipends. I think that's all of the stories we have on the Punch. The next paper we're going to be reviewing would be, we'll just take a quick look at the Vanguard news paper.
Let's say the Vanguard for you, everyone. Vanguard is loaded as expected this morning. But then we want to begin with a big story on the front page of it. It says, Thierry Sanusi, I thought I would die before Wigwe. Quite a sad narrative there. We understand the funeral rites have begun. All right, you see the picture there. All right, at the top of it, at the very top of it, right, you have a headline that reads, effective implementation of extant laws makes expatriate levy needless. That's the organized private sector they're talking. Edo Guba, Shaibu served impeachment notice as Oshomole denies involvement. All right. CRPP condemns move. Shaibu keeps mum, consults his lawyers. NLC TUC issues 7-day ultimatum to Soludo over workers' welfare. Apparently, that's a reference to the Labour FG face-off in Anambra State. We are determined to consolidate our 2023 superior performance. The Nigerian Ports Authority, that's the NPA, a rider there reads, says implementation of performance improvement measures key. And then we'll take it to the bottom a little further. A bloodbath in Benue, 50 killed as militia gangs go to war. Incidentally, one paper says 30, another one reports 40, but now Vanguard says to us that it's 50, and it calls it a bloodbath in Benue. Benue and Plateau states have been in the news for the wrong reasons the last couple of months, and apparently those are very dangerous signals, especially for Benue in particular, that is, I mean, that has always been known as the food basket of the nation. Not only is farming activity in that state badly affected, lives have been taken. The unity of the people there who once lived harmoniously amongst themselves has also been eroded to a very large extent, which again puts more work in front of Governor Harrison Thalia going forward, because he met Benue at a point where there had been several issues to be addressed, and today it appears those issues have even deepened further. Yes.
This is particularly worrisome because it's obviously a reoccurrence. We've had cases.
So it's not a one-off thing.
It's not a one-off thing, and stringent measures should be put in place to ensure that there's never a repeat, because this has been going on for years now. We had the case. It was in 2019, if I'm not mistaken, 2019, when we had mass burial for people of a particular.
Then we had the Governor Samuel Otom.
Samuel Otom do that for those in the welfare quarters axis of Benue State, where people were killed in their numbers. If you go to Benue State, there are villages where, in a whole village, there's nobody living there. They're fleeing for their lives because of these terrorists. I mean, it's a constant. So they can't be there because the attack reoccurs. So I'm beginning to wonder what is being. It's sad to know and understand that you have a place, you have a home, but you can't live there. How much more farm? You have farm. People have left their farmlands. I mean, like I always say, Benue is blessed with fertile lands. You know, where our land is rich we have some of the finest foods coming from that place. But farmers cannot farm because of insecurity. The insecurity is on a rise. Imagine fleeing from your village to somewhere else where you already have a farmland, you already have
an established life,
and you are fleeing because of heightened insecurity. So this calls for concern from both the federal government and Governor Ale in particular to look into it.
I can't agree any less, apparently. All right, but let's see sports there. It says African Games charges athletes to conquer Africa. Tinubu has clear strategy to reform economy, says Bagudu. FG threatens to revoke disco's licenses over poor power supply. Well, this is not the first time we've been to this point where we are talking about revoking licenses, but that's a conversation we are going to be having with some subject matter experts in the days ahead. Okay, we have the last paper, the Daily Times, and Queen has those headlines for us.
Okay, and on the Daily Times, the front above the nameplate, we have CBN sells fresh 1.3 trillion naira in T-bills at 21.5% to curb inflation. FG threatens to revoke licenses of discos over poor power supply. Food crisis. Customs intercepts sacks of beans going to Benin Republic. And then we have Wike to ban open grazing in the FCT. The big story here is Senate reps to confer with Tinubu as killings escalate in Benue, Katsina, and others. Okay, I like that this is a meeting, a closed-door meeting with the president, obviously, as regards the killings in Benue State, Katsina, and others. I recall that last month there was a closed-door, there was a meeting with the CGN, Coalition of Northern Groups. CNG, I beg your pardon. CNG meeting, bothering, particularly on insecurity, especially in northern states in particular. And I remember that we had chiefs, we had first-class chiefs, traditional rulers,
across board.
Yes, and then the military and quite a lot of people attend that meeting, bordering on insecurity. So I want to believe that measures are being taken, and I like that this time around the president is going to be in attendance. I hope that this makes a difference. This makes it different this time around. And now we also have APC leader to Tinubu, you are failing.
That came closer to home, and it came from home.
It did come from home. So this should, bother on the presidency. FCT to commence distribution of palliatives in Abuja Council. I think that's all we have for you on the papers this morning. If you're interested in any of the stories, you should get yourself a copy of any of the papers to follow through.
Okay, so that's what we're leaving it with the papers. Everyone, thank you for being a part of it. We're taking a quick break. When we return, our guest will be here. We'll start looking at two issues. First of all, how do we review the standardization and the standards of exports leaving Nigeria, especially as they have to do with agri-related products? And then we also need to look at the fact that Binance has now officially suspended its operations in Naira, which the CBN and the monetary authorities as a whole had frantically fought in the last couple of weeks in particular, all right, to a standstill. So we want to have that conversation with somebody who is very conversant with these developments, but that will be after this break. To stay with us.